Welcome to lesson 23 of Financial Sobriety School. My name is Linda Parmar. I am the founder of Financial Sobriety School and a financial sobriety expert. If you're watching on YouTube, I am in a completely different space. You're used to seeing me in my office, my home office, but I am away at a little work vacay. I've rented a place right on the water in a little place called Nanoose on Vancouver Island. And I love doing this for myself. It's a little bit of like, yes, work getaway, finding inspiration and pouring love into my business while also really like honoring myself and what I need for me. It just always feels so good. So this is where I'm coming from today. I'm hoping to get a few podcasts/lessons, YouTube videos recorded while I'm here, and just have the space and the capacity to be able to kind of batch stuff out and create a lot of content. And I've been having a lot of fun doing that. I started doing this for my business last year, and it is just such a gift for myself and for my business. And I get to get more stuff out for you guys. So super excited about that. Welcome to lesson 23. We're going to talk about a subject that might be a little bit hard, but talking about what we were taught about money as kids, as children. And a lot of you are probably thinking right now, like, well, Linda, I actually wasn't taught anything. And if you're saying that, that actually is what most people experienced. I hardly talk to anybody who actually was like sat down and taught how to like budget or anything like that. I hear the exact opposite. My parents didn't teach me anything. I didn't know what to do. Some people, they have like their bank accounts were opened by their parents, but then were never taught what to do with those. Or, unfortunately, I've heard a lot of people who had bank accounts opened for them and then their parents used their money. And there's a lot of different levels of what that shows up like for people and what they were taught about money. So when I first say that, what were you taught about money as a kid? What's the first memory that comes up for you? What's the first thing that you think of? And a lot of times this could maybe be your first memory of money at all. And this is always, I find that this memory, or, you remember an experience that you had, or you remember the feeling in the room, but you don't really know what was going on, but you did know it was about money. A lot of times this can really shape the way money shows up in your life as an adult now. It could be showing up like what it looks like for how your relationship with money overall has gone. What was it like in your house growing up? One of the first questions I ask people when I am starting to work with them is, what was the energy of money like in your home growing up? And a lot of people don't know what that means. It's like, energy, what do you mean? It's like, well, was there like tension between your parents if they talked about money? Was there arguments? Or was there tension and they weren't actually even talking about it, but you knew it was about money? Someone was out, balancing their checkbook. What did that look like for you? And what I will say is that I was actually looking at a study not too long ago, and it said that only 67% of people feel comfortable talking about money. And so when you say like, oh, what was my experience like as a kid when it came to my parents or the ones closest to me teaching me about money? And the news is, and the truth about it is that the people who raised you probably also weren't taught about money. So we have these different generations that are coming together, and nobody knows what we're supposed to be doing with it. And money is such a huge energy, and it's an energy that's nobody's taught about it. And it's this energy that rules the world. It rules so many things that happen in our lives. But 67% of people don't feel comfortable talking about it. That is a really, really big statistic. And so I think like, well, what does the other 33%, like, what does that look like for them? And mostly it looks like maybe there was a small amount of them that actually were taught about money. And if you were one of those people where your parents like really led you along the path with money, I really want you to feel really, really grateful for that, for the times that felt good with that. And then there's the 33% that I'm thinking they're probably talking about like what they got on sale or what they bought, or talking about like the newest and greatest name brand situation that they're taking part in. And so, like, are the 33% of people who are talking about money, is it really just them talking about what they're spending their money on? And I bet that's probably a big piece of it, because our marketing in this world is buy, buy, buy. Oh, go buy this. Oh, go do this. Buy all the things. You're nobody unless you have these certain pairs of pants, right? And then it's like, okay, buy all this stuff, completely brainwash you and gaslight you into buying all these things, but don't talk about debt. Don't you ever, ever, ever talk about debt, because you're a failure. You don't talk about debt because that's supposed to be hidden. That's shameful. You are a bad person. And it's just it's so confusing for people. So no wonder we're feeling so much shame about that. And then I also want to draw attention to the fact that there's also, your parents probably had their parents go through the depression, or your parents went through the depression, or maybe there was wars happening when your parents or their parents were children, maybe had grandparents, fighting in the war. There's so many different generations, right? So what does that look like for your lineage, and how does that show up? I know in previous episodes I've talked about like intergenerational trauma and how that shows up with money. And just kind of to touch on that just really quickly, is that intergenerational trauma is talked about, things getting passed down genetically into us, and it becomes our DNA. And sometimes we're adopting traumas that aren't even ours. And so, when it comes to our money stories and our memories about money, and what did I learn about money? And, oh, they didn't teach me that. And their resentments start to happen, where a lot of the times this is actually getting passed down generation to generation to generation. And where does that show up for you? When you hear that, what is something that you think that you can do? You can start to break cycles like that and start to think about changing your language when you're around children, or if you have children. If you were taught that and you absolutely knew that your family had no money, and there was the constant message that happened for you, like, we can't afford that. We can't do that. We don't have any money. No, you can't buy that. We don't have any money. And this scarcity feeling has come over you, even into what you're experiencing now as an adult. If you haven't done work around money, that really follows you. And so, when it comes to that, what are you going to do about your story? What do you want to do to change your current experience with money? And sometimes thinking back to what's happened with money with your family, what's happened to money with you, whether it's been unconscious or conscious, like you actually knew it was happening, situations, is now that you have some thoughts about that, what can you do to start to turn that around? And one of my favorite quotes that I love to say is, it's not your fault, but it's your turn. And I don't remember who said that, but it's one of those things that I'll often get really deep into someone's money story with them when I get the honor of them sharing that with me. And when I say that to them, and you can just feel their body drop and their nervous system kind of like feel soothed a bit, of like, okay, I can change this. And I can understand why I'm here. I can understand what's happened to me and then from there starting to make those decisions that start to feel really, really good and starting to change. When it comes to money, there's so much shame attached to it. Well, for one, because like there's a huge percentage of people that it's bad to talk about. And society makes it bad to talk about. Like I was saying before, you're a bad person if you have debt. You're a bad person if you're making bad financial decisions. What is a bad financial decision? We're being brainwashed into debt most of the time, especially when we're not armed with the information that we should know about money. And I don't even want to say should, because then that starts to become a bit of a like I'm shoulding all over myself. Love that term. Every time I hear it, I giggle. But I'm not saying that we should know about it, but wouldn't it be nice to start to empower ourselves with understanding how money works, our behavior around money, what that looks like? Because it's like almost every other, a lot of addictions and a lot of things that we are in recovery from. And that's why I bring into this space financial sobriety, because it's talked about as being like a process addiction. And what that means is that it's a process to work through it. And so you're not going to listen to this and be like, okay, I'm ready to change my money. Like, there's going to be a process to being able to do that. And what does that look like for you? The beautiful thing is that this is lesson 23 of financial sobriety school. I had a podcast before this called Your Money, Your Recovery. But once I started financial sobriety school, I changed the name of the podcast. So I don't even remember how many episodes I did of Your Money, Your Recovery. But there's actually some really beautiful stories on there of people that I had on as guests and asked them questions about their money. So those are also within this podcast. I didn't have YouTube or blogs or anything for them at that time. But for financial sobriety school, like even if you want to start with the lessons and that stuff that comes up and being aware of, okay, like this is going to take a process to be able to help support myself and my money. And starting to walk through the lessons, starting to be aware, and starting to really work through the foundations of financial sobriety. It's not too late for you to work on your money. The beautiful thing is that it's not too late. And what's even more important to know is that you are worthy of this work. You are worthy to no longer have that stress, that guilt, the shame that's attached to money. That doesn't need to be your reality. Maybe listening to this really kind of started to connect the dots of, oh, what happened to my family with money? Oh, that's why I'm making these decisions with money. Oh, this is what I was taught. And the biggest thing is that a lot of times we were taught by people not even using words. It was that energy. It was unspoken. It was body language. It was tension. There's a lot of that we learn just without even knowing it. And, our brain is developing until we're, I think, 23. And, even as children, especially, like we're born absolutely perfect. And then, different pieces of us, start to break off with things that happen to us. And money's one of those things. I know my journey has been my financial sobriety journey has been difficult. And because money and the energy of money in my home as a kid was really, there was a lot of tension, there was a lot of arguing, there was a lot of not feeling safe. And so trying to bring that into my work and help people, understand. Because I know that when I started to take money coaching myself and I understood why I felt scared about money, why overspending was something that I turned to soothe myself, it made a lot of sense. And I was able to start to have a lot of grace with myself. So I hope that when you listen to this lesson, there's not a lot of action steps that I'm talking about in this lesson, but what I wanted to invite into this space is awareness. Awareness of what other people who you grew up with, what they may have experienced, and how that then you have experienced. And that it is completely normal that nobody taught you anything about money. That's normal, absolutely normal. And so just really taking the time to starting to make the decision to maybe work on your money. Feel free to reach out to me. I would love to support you if starting your financial sobriety journey is something that you resonate with. You can book a 30-minute consultation on my website. There's also a tab up at the top of my website that has work with me. So it gives you the details about what offerings I have currently. And know that you are worthy, and know that these free lessons are here as well for you to start to become aware and know that you're worthy of this journey. I know you're worthy of this journey, and this is an invitation to start your path on this journey. Thank you so much for tuning into this lesson, and I will see you in a couple weeks. Bye.